Good evening, I'm Larry Smith. A potentially dangerous situation unfolding tonight in eastern Kentucky, where state officials say a dam is in danger of collapsing in the city of Jackson, threatening more than 100 homes as well as businesses and a hospital. LEX 18's Sean Moody is live tonight in Jackson, where people have been rescued all day after historic and deadly flooding. He begins our coverage tonight of the flooding in eastern Kentucky. Sean.
Yeah, Larry, it's really been just a tense and heartbreaking situation all day long. A dire situation across eastern Kentucky. We know of at least 8 people who are confirmed to be dead in this flooding all across the region. But of course, as Governor Andy Beshear told us, we expected that death toll is going to rise into the double digits because communication is so bad right now. It's hard to even know where these people are to rescue or recover them. Here in downtown Jackson, you can see what the situation is. This is Broadway and Hawk Street. The North Fork of the Kentucky River is just a couple of blocks that way, and you can see that water has flooded the streets here at several blocks. Emergency services have been spread so thin throughout the region that there's not been a whole lot of an official presence here in downtown Jackson. It's really kind of been a civilian effort until the fire department got a boat here around 8:30 or so this evening. Now they're hoping that the water is cresting about now, but there is another danger looming. They're concerned about the Panbowl Dam. Emergency officials say there are 110 homes, 13 businesses, 2 churches, a retirement home, a school, and a hospital that are all in the floodplain for that dam. They've evacuated people from the area as a precaution. A fire official that I talked to earlier this evening said that the dam is near failure, and so they're trying to get as many people to safety as they can. And if that happens, he said there could be more significant damage to the city. And Highway 15 runs across the top of that dam, so they've shut that down tonight. If that does collapse, that will cut off everybody who is in Jackson from everywhere else, not to mention the water that could come rushing out. Now, communication, as we mentioned, is a serious issue. Cell service is out in a lot of areas across the region, so there are a lot of people who just have no way to call for help. So again, this really has been just a group of people doing what they can.
Desperate times call for desperate measures, unfortunately.
In Jackson tonight, this is about as desperate as it gets.
We've seen water in the streets before, but we've never seen water, waist deep in the streets or chest deep in the streets.
Dwayne Shoemaker's been downtown here for a few hours as the waters rise around these houses. He knows the situation across the region is dire and first responders are spread thin, so they're not waiting for help.
We've been going and getting them in kayaks. Unfortunately, we've not had, any national help or any, official help here. But we formed together here as a community, and we're trying to take care of our own.
The water from the North Fork of the Kentucky River is rushing through a few blocks here, and there are still people in some of those homes. They've brought several of them out in kayaks. For Shoemaker, it's a serious risk. He's got no training for this.
I'm a 36-year-old male that will admit that I cannot swim, but I don't mind doing it.
Pauline Burnett never expected to be hauled up the street in a boat.
I never seen this before. In all the years I live here, I have never seen this. Never.
She's thankful to be okay tonight.
I'm 93 years old. And I got some wonderful neighbors.
Pauline expects that water will soon be in her home, but she's keeping her spirits up.
But I guess I'll live through it. I hope I do. At 93, why should I worry?
On the other side of the river, there are more missions across the water.
We're hoping the houses don't go, but that's a strong possibility. Dylan
Minix and his friend Gary Allen set off in a Walmart raft to Dylan's home.
Sometimes some people got stuff that they can't afford to lose, and I've got a girlfriend that's 8 months pregnant, and we had some ultrasound pictures and stuff like that in the house that we just needed to grab, and that the house can be replaced, but some things just can't.
They were able to save that ultrasound picture, and now they're hoping for the best. That's what everyone's doing as they watch, wait, and make sure their neighbors are safe.
Most everybody knows everybody, and we care about everybody. Everybody may not get along, but everybody's here for one another.
Now, we talked about the fact that first responders in the area are spread so thin because there are just so many people who need rescue right now. Just a little bit south of here is Lost Creek, and that's where LEX 18's Ricky Sayer has been throughout the day as several people were rescued from their homes.
As the water rose this afternoon in eastern Kentucky, the rescues continued in Lost Creek.
Just relieved to get out of there. I'm going to lose everything I have, for sure. But it's better than losing my life.
Rescue crews brought Beverly Darty to dry land around 7. She'd spent hours in the water, placing her dog on something that floats because she couldn't hold them anymore. Water reached her chest.
Finally, I just was hanging on to a fern rope, and I thought, I've got to do it. I've got to swim. But it was super swift. I've never swum in water like that.
Her story is far from unique. We spent hours with the Lexington Fire Department as they worked to rescue people.
We have 15 to 20 people that are still missing in the area that we're trying to locate.
Out of 18 missions, crews rescued 26 people. Civilians helped too, rescuing 10 to 12, including many of the 14 staff members at the Riverside Christian School.
One of our members had to escape through a window and climb onto his roof before he got rescued. So it was a long night for everybody.
Everyone got out. A helicopter flew overhead, looking for people still stranded. With cell service non-existent, you couldn't just call for help. People waited nearby for word their loved ones are safe. Sally is looking for her best friend's daughter.
It's hard to think about anything else.
This is the reality for so many in Lost Creek and across eastern Kentucky, taken in these small boats across places that are just impassable. We crossed here earlier when the water was much lower. In an ATV, in about an hour, the water raised so much that it was no longer safe.
I just cannot explain what I'm going through because I've lost everything. This makes it twice. I've lost everything I have.
Angela Hacker left her home as the water rose. Unlike Darty, she wasn't able to bring her pets.
My cats are on the porch just trying to find somewhere to go. All these animals. It's hard.
The common pain in a community still trying to save whoever they can. In Lost Creek, Ricky Sayer, LEX 18 News.
So as we start to learn more over the next few days, we'll certainly hear more of those stories of survival, and we always like to highlight those, but we also know we're going to hear more heartbreaking stories of loss, and we're certainly hoping for the best. I can tell you just in the past 10 minutes or so since we've been standing in this area, the water's come up a couple of feet. I know they're hoping that this water will crest sometime here very shortly. And again, Highway 15 coming north out of Jackson is now closed as all eyes are on that Panbowl Dam. The situation certainly isn't over, even if that dam does hold tonight. The fire department spokesperson told me that once cell phone service is restored to the area here, he expects their calls are going to go through the roof because, of course, there are a lot of people out there who just have no way to call for help with that cell service down. Then they'll thankfully be able to call for rescue. But, of course, that means a lot more of these rescue missions are going to happen. There have been helicopters out with hoists on them from Kentucky National Guard, from West Virginia National Guard. The governor says, again, we know of 8 people confirmed dead so far. He expects that death toll is going to go up into the double digits. And we're certainly going to keep an eye on that. It's going to be a long time before we get a true sense of exactly what the situation is here in eastern Kentucky. And of course, as we get deeper into the evening here, I understand there's more rain in the forecast, which is the last thing that anybody wants to think about. But it's one more factor that everyone is going to have to deal with as we get through the night here. Larry.